Welcome everybody to Mastrius. I'd like to introduce you to the award-winning Leisa Rich. Leisa is a visual experimentalist, art educator, and published author and illustrator. She has a bachelor's and master's in fine art and a bachelor's of education in art. And Leisa has been teaching for 48 years. So this is both of our maiden voyage for Mastrius. So please bear with us if we do something a little off or we seem a little weird. It's just because we're both new at this. So I'm excited to find out about your process. And so could you start off by telling us, Leisa, what inspires you as an artist?
Sure. I take my inspiration from several different areas, and those areas run on a kind of a genealogical line. So some of them come from my background, my family background, my parental and ancestral background. And some of them come from my childhood. I am legally deaf and experienced a lot of very impactful things. Hi, I can see someone. We know now that it's working. The live is working. Yay.
Yay.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
So I'm getting an echo. You can turn off your sound. That'd be great. Perfect. So several things during my childhood were really impactful. I mean, growing up in Canada, nature, a weeping willow tree that gave me some sense of being safe after I emerged from the hospital from my deafness. Going to the It's a Small World ride at Disney World when I was 5 to kind of celebrate, you know, getting out of the hospital and all of the medical challenges I had been through. Just a variety of different things, you know, in my childhood have definitely really impacted, you know, who I am today as an artist. And then, of course, going through moves and living in different cultures, and just having a life that was very creative, centric, you might say, and involved a lot of different cultures, a lot of different experiences. But also, I think I have an innate belligerence almost, stemming from rising above those early medical challenges that made me my parents just kind of ignored all of this and dealt with it, but didn't really talk about it or make it an issue. So I basically grew up believing that anything was possible and that I just would thrust myself into life. Right. And I think that really connects with me still today, is taking risks, taking chances, not letting the things that we experience as people, all of us, medical challenges or you know, tech challenges or relationship challenges, whatever it might be, we use those things, we make those part of who we are, and we express them in our work, and then turn them from negatives into positives that inform our work.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So how did you get into art?
I should have gotten into art actually earlier, because I grew up not very artistic parents, it seemed, but my mother had quite a little artistic bent in her, and that ended up, you know, becoming it was in different ways that she expressed herself artistically, not in art per se. But I also had a sister who got her Master of Fine Arts in metal and jewelry design, married a painting professor, and subsequently also got an architecture her became an architect from MIT, graduating from MIT. So just growing up with them, 60s, 70s parties in East Lansing, Michigan State University parties, being surrounded by the culture of the 60s and 70s, but also the artistic culture with them. It seems like I should have actually gotten into art earlier, but I was into piano and dance, and it was getting mononucleosis when I was 15 at Interlochen Arts Academy, where I was on a piano scholarship with dance as my minor, that I gained some weight. The dance department kicked me out until I lost the weight. Oh. And it was a thyroid issue. And I ended up actually taking a weaving class because I was a lazy 15-year-old. And my girlfriend said, hey man, take weaving. It's an easy A, you'll just like breeze through it for the rest of the semester till you lose the weight. The third day that I was in weaving, that was it.
Wow.
I dropped piano. I still did do dance as my minor, and carried that through modern dance at the University of Michigan, where I subsequently went for my Bachelor of Fine Arts. But yeah, so those, I had a lot of those influences of medical and people in my life. And I also want to point out that I had some negative influences in the art world. People who didn't believe in me or who didn't pay attention to my passion, and maybe found me just troublesome, because I was as a teenager and into my early 20s.
Right.
And perhaps those negative experiences also gave me, again, that aggressive personality. I'm going to show them, I'm going to make this something, really something. So positive and negative influences change your life.
I think many people can probably connect with that. I think really a lot of people can feel that. So is there a medium or something in your process that you could not live without? Is there something that you use, or a process or a medium?
Right. You can just see the side of my sewing machine. And I'm going to do a little dinky demo just to kind of show you. I took a load of laundry out of the dryer not 45 minutes ago, and I grabbed the dryer lint, which I have used many times throughout my artistic career. And I have started a little stitch project using dryer lint.
I love this about you. I love it.
So that unabashed experimentation,
I love it,
is really important. Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
So I have a question. I as an artist, I've had to work through artist block many times, and working on it now myself. And I just tagged you in something on that. But so do you as an artist get artist block? And if you do, how do you get through it?
I value and validate the challenge of artist block. Creative block is something that a lot of people do experience in their lifetime, and it can be devastating, and it can really give way to a lot of self-doubt. I myself have never experienced creative block, and sometimes I hate telling people that, but I actually have the opposite problem, and it is just as much of a challenge as creative block. And that is that I have literally a million ideas in this head of mine and in my creative soul. So I am constantly frustrated throughout my career, and still today, by maybe lack of funds, lack of assistance, lack of space to really realize the big visions, lack of exhibitions that will allow me to transform the space. Just a lot of challenges, realizing I'm just one person. So realizing the challenge of meeting my need and all of these ideas, and how to get them out fast enough. That is one thing consistently people say to me is, oh my God, you're so prolific. it comes from passion, and it comes from dryer lint, you know, just being open to the idea that everywhere around us is
Yes.
inspiration. There really shouldn't be anything called creative block. I mean, I did a series of kind of some stitch pieces that were based on the wrinkles in my legs from
Wow.
aging.
Wow.
I mean, there is the impetus is there everywhere, everywhere. So I think it's more about opening up our eyes and expanding
Right.
what it is. It's not just looking at other artists' works. That's not where you're gonna, you know, achieve the cessation of your creative block and start producing again. There are all these different ways, and I'll be touching on that in the mentor program. Is what are all these different ways to tackle that creative block and become prolific, the kind of prolific you want to be, achieving the kind of art that you want to achieve, and feeling good about it, and not facing that creative block ever again.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to, since there's new people that came in the group, I don't know if they heard, just let me reintroduce you really quickly. So I just want you to introduce you to award-winning Leisa Rich. She's a visual artist, experimentalist, art educator, and published author and illustrator. So she has many degrees to back up all the things that she's discussing with us today. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this for us. So let me get back to the question.
On that note,
Yes.
get back to the questions. We will, but I just want to mention you don't have to have degrees behind your name to be you know, to learn and grow and challenge yourself and be at every level of your career as an artist. Those degrees are not absolutely 100% necessary. The things I personally got from the degrees were not the degrees themselves, but actually working with other people, working the grad students, especially when I was in grad school, it was revelatory. Just their ideas, their approaches, their techniques, their materials was very inspiring to me. And the fact that we could be brutal with each other. We could have critiques that meant something, that, you know, and so I think that degrees are helpful, you know, in certain areas, but I think what you get intrinsically from that process is the benefit mostly of the degree, but you can get that without them.
I find the groups here at Mastrius really amazing, so I just wanted to add that. But anyway, so let me next question. What is the driving force behind the art that you're currently working on?
So currently, right now, I'm actually shaking myself up, and I'm known for a use of vibrant color. And I am getting ready for a solo exhibition that will be in May in a small new gallery that a painter friend has opened up, a sweet space. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I really want to transform this space. I am actually, the exhibition is going to be called Almost, in brackets, color, Canadian spelling, because I'm living in Canada, I'm Canadian, less. So not colorless, but colorless. So it won't be all, you know, there will be hardly any color. And so I'm challenging myself for the last couple of months to work almost colorless. And so that's a new body of work amongst many bodies of work. And I'm going to talk quite a bit about that in the Mastrius Mentor sessions. What is a body of work? What is known as a body of work? And what is really a body of work? And what do you want? What kind of body of work do you want? Which feels the most comfortable to you? And how to take those bodies of work and use them to further your career, gain gallery representation, whatever it might be that you're looking, go into an art fair, You know, it personalized to you. Are you a production artist? Are you a one-of-a-kind artist? Are you a just outsider artist? You know, what are you? But within that, do you have to stick to one body of art, one body of work?
Right, right. Thank you.
That's a much more important topic than most people tackle.
It truly is. It truly is. So what do you feel like your creative strengths are? Maybe similar to what you were just talking about.
Fearlessness would be one creative strength. Not being afraid to fail. Not being afraid to fail, because failure is not failure in and of itself. Mistakes are opportunities for growth. And mistakes can often be turned into the best art that you ever made. It might open a new door. So I think for me, it's being comfortable enough to say, this sucks. This is just not working. It's not good. Can I cut it up? Can I print over it? Can I stitch over it? Can I paint over it? Or does it need to go in the garbage?
Right.
You know, there's sort of, how do you know how to tackle that? Which way to go? And it is to have just some sort of a fearlessness. And I'd say that's my main creative strength, is audacity and fearlessness and experimentation and just going for it. And if there's a material that intrigues you, use it. If there's a technique that intrigues you, find out how to do it. We are only stopping ourselves.
Right. Perfect. I love that. I love all these answers. They're perfect. So what was the last important thing you learned as an artist that you think would translate to other people?
Well, you really have to stick up for yourself, and you have to figure out where your integrity, how far your integrity can get pushed or not. And I'll illustrate this with something that happened to me last year that was devastating. And so there was an opportunity to do a large installation for free. I would have to pay to make the installation, the materials, the time, the energy. I would, you know, need to take it to this large city where this event was going to be. But, you know, the space would normally have been $3,000, $4,000. So I was being given this great space, and I had to apply for it. It was a jury. The jury loved my proposal. Totally free. Everything I reread, everything said, you know, we'll cover, you know, your time while you're here, and you can install. And I started sending, you know, can I hang from the ceiling? Can I just floor, just walls? Oh, yes, you can hang from the ceiling. You can do the walls, you know, whatever you want to do, we'll make it happen. So it came time, I worked on all the work, and it was about a month prior to the event when a phone conversation with one of the organizers revealed that in order for me to hang from the ceiling was going to require their lift, which I figured, I've used lifts, you know, before, and they wanted $1,500 per hook. So I was looking at that time, 3 hooks to suspend the pieces I had made, taking months to make. And so that was $4,500 I was going to have to shell out of my pocket. Yeah. And they were very angry with me when I pulled out. And so I think that we have to decide on a small, that's a big scale, but on a small scale, how not to get taken advantage of. And that might be a vanity gallery wanting you to pay for something, you know, in a big way.
Right.
that, you know, all the way, just a little gallery may be saying, oh, you know, I'd love to have your work in here, but you need to give me $300 plus, then I'm going to take 50% of any sales, you know, and you need to gallery sit for a day, you know, every 2 weeks. Or there are levels, and we have to decide, where am I at in my career and what level is comfortable for me?
Right.
And make some decisions. And sometimes that means saying no to some, you know, really important opportunities.
I have some questions from the chat. So
Yes.
one of the first questions is how would you approach critiques?
Oh, that is a great question. I love that question. So because here's a situation where the degrees come in handy, because of course you cannot get through school without as art school without massive numbers of critiques. However, I have been in that, you know, that section of critiquing, but I have also been teaching for 48 years. And I have taught everything from 3-year-olds up to 88-year-olds and every kind of artist you can imagine, including painting and drawing classes. And I mean, the list goes on. And so everyone from a Sunday painter who just has literally, they can only come to your class for 2 hours on a Sunday. They've got full-time jobs, you know, and so there are different people looking for different kinds of critiques. And so sometimes when it's an artist starting out, the critiques have to be really gentle. They have to be based on my objectivity. They cannot be based on anything subjective from me. I have to use that education and that teaching experience to help the person grow. When it gets up to the grad school level, grad school will rip apart, tear you up, spit you out. You know, it is a brutal. If it's done right, it will make you a better artist. And I feel grateful for those times when I was, you know, sent into tears by a critique, but I grew so much from those. My own personal approach is, depending on the class, the workshop, the mentor session, whatever it is, I am going to approach it based on that. So because my Mastrius mentor session is at the level where you're not beginning, you know, you're maybe not pro, but you're in that category where you're exhibiting, you're maybe selling, you know, you're really involved in your artwork and very serious about it, and working professionally toward, you know, that kind of a career, and in that kind of career, the critiques will be midline. They will be encouraged to be open and honest, and with a considerable intent on losing some restraint, but kindly losing some restraint.
Okay, I have another question. The question is, do you have to work in the same subject matter as you? And do you have to have a sewing? Do you have to use a sewing machine?
No, to all of the above. The way that this Mastrius mentorship is going to be set up, and because of my own experience teaching, painting, drawing, sculpture, ceramics, textiles, you know, fiber arts, the list goes, printmaking, because of my experimental attitude and my thirst for learning it all, and I do it all. I want this to, all the techniques and tips and things that we're going to be doing, exercises, etc., will be absolutely suitable for people in art in a variety of different situations. Will we talk about maybe some stitch techniques? Yes. Will we talk about painting techniques? Yeah. I mean, we're going to just flow with the people in the group. It'll be very individualized. So I will be finding out who you are. I will be addressing what you need to achieve, and I will be tailoring the exercises to the mentees in that mentorship group.
So I'm seeing in the background that you have some of your art back there. Can you show us around your studio a little bit so we can get a little bit of an idea of who you are?
Yeah. So
Yes.
first I actually pulled, so I didn't have to move the camera
Okay.
too much. I actually
Okay.
pulled a few samples.
Okay.
So for the painter, if there are any painters in the group, this is a fun experiment I did. And so if you go back and if you go to my Instagram, if you've been on it or whatever, and you go way back some months, you'll find a crazy video I did called Wet Paint. So I've been known to stitch wet paint, which freaks, completely freaks people out. Like, how do you stitch wet paint? So this is actually 2 pockets of vinyl within which I have done wet paint, and there's a 3D printed, that's actually an endangered ocean creature species replication there. And I have just done a little bit of stitching, and so I've encased this into this kind of plastic pouch. So, working with paints in a variety of different ways, and stitching, and maybe 3D printing. I mean, I do all of those things. I do sometimes when I'm approaching an experimentation. So I was working with this reflective mirrored material, which actually is incredible. It reflects light, it reflects color. I was very intrigued, what can I do with this particular material? So this is a good indication of when I say materials-based inspiration. So the material spoke to me, and I have since done sculptural works and a wearable sculpture out of this material. So I did a variety of different, different experiments to see how what the properties were of this particular material and how I could work with it.
Right.
So I also encourage that in my mentorship group, to experiment and to create yourself a little storyboard, a little sample board. Here's just another one that's with a different reflective. It's a reflective crazy material that I started doing some experiments with. This is another experiment board. So where I've used just a particular kind of sewing tape, and I have created and formed it into different kinds of sculptural applications. I found an extraordinary fabric in the fabric store about a month and a half ago, and I now have giant rocks that are growing in my studio on the floor. Here's one of them. And it was the ugliest, craziest material, but I actually dyed it. I hand painted it with dyes to make it look more like rocks. So I have several of these rocks. Wow. And then on my sewing machine, I have done this piece right here I just finished. So these are storage cube panels, which I slice out, several of them, and then I stitch across dead space. And then I've utilized my Glow Forge, which is a laser cutter, with my husband's help. He's my tech god. I couldn't do some of this stuff without him. He's very handy that way. And we have created this incredible box, which I then found another experiment, I could actually dye the wood with my fabric dyes. So, behind me are some of, you may be able to see just some of the pieces hanging there that I am working on. And those are sculptural works that some are done and some are in progress, getting ready for that show that I told you about, which is almost colorless. So do we have any more questions too?
No, I don't see any. I was just thinking though, my brain is just spinning because I see things that you're talking about, and I can take those and incorporate them into what I do as an artist. And I take it that's your purpose and what
that is absolutely my purpose. Yes. When I teach, no 2 students will ever do the same thing. It's just an amazing, incredible array when I do a workshop, just an array of different, they have taken what I've taught and I've encouraged and found out what their style was, what the body of work was they were interested in, and help them to utilize those techniques, ideas, concepts, materials in their own voice. And that is exceedingly important to me. You won't be, if you're a person, for instance, looking for a mentor group that you are going to copy, what I do, like learn my technique and do that technique, that's not going to happen.
I do have another question. So what techniques or practices do you use to harness and distill your ideas into a point of focus? Sometimes the range of things I want to explore can lead me to a place of inertia.
Got it. That's kind of like being at an all-you-can-eat buffet, isn't it? You've got all of these choices. Your stomach is only so big. And if you overeat, you won't feel good. And so you kind of go, oh, what am I going to eat? I'm that person, standing there going, okay, should I have that or should I have that? That is a challenge. And I would say that will be one of the things that I'm going to talk about is, when do you know to stop? So for instance, there's something really hot in the fiber arts right now. And so it's like rug cooking. It's called tufting. Some of you may have heard about it. Tufting is huge. There are so many people doing tufting now. And it looks madly intriguing to me. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's like yarn. It's painting with yarn, and it's, big, and I could work big, and it's got a gun, and I could take out some frustrations on that, material. But I stopped myself from doing it because I said, you have so many things that you do. And so many things that you want to continue to explore and haven't finished exploring yet. And it does require space and money and tools that you don't have. And so I did stop myself from experimenting with tufting. So I think it's just finding a way to be satisfied with what you've taken off the buffet and not going back for the second piece of cake.
Yes. So I guess, is there anything else that you would like to add? And then I can kind of wrap things up here toward the end.
No, I mean, these have been great questions. And I really appreciate those of you who have participated and asked these great questions. All I can say is I am genuinely excited to be offering this group, and hope that some of you may consider signing up with Mastrius and joining our group. I think it's going to become a very vibrant, very connected, very insightful and helpful and inspiring group. So I hope to see you there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Leisa. And thank you everybody for
Cindy.
For stopping in to listen to what we had to say. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really
have a great
appreciate
day,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Elise,
Bye.
Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you, Anna.